Good morning. Welcome to the Lancaster County Board of Commissioners meeting for Tuesday, November 7th, 2023. I am your chair, Commissioner Krista Yoakum. To my right is Vice Chair Commissioner Sean Flowerday. To my far right is Commissioner Roma Amundson. To my left, Commissioner Rick Vest. And to my far left, Commissioner Matt Schulte. Please rise if you're able and recite the Pledge of Allegiance with us. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may start with the location announcement, Mr. Clerk.
Location announcement of the Nebraska Open Meetings Act. A copy of the Nebraska Open Meetings Act is located at the wall at the rear of the hearing room. Additionally, all written material to be discussed at today's open meeting is available for electronic viewing from the county clerk staff. Printing options are available upon request. These materials can also be viewed at the county's website at lancaster.ne.gov. This brings us to agenda item 1, minutes. Approval of the minutes of the Board of Commissioners meeting held on October 31st, 2023.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes. Please call the roll.
Vest?
Yes.
Amundson?
Yes.
Schulte?
Yes.
Flowerday?
Yes.
Yoakum?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. Item 2, claims. Approval of the claims processed through November 7th, 2023. And I'll note for commissioners there is an amendment to include the payroll for November 9th.
I move approval of the claims processed through November 7th and include the payroll disbursements through November 1st.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the claims, including the payroll disbursements through November 7th. Process pay date of November 9th. Please call the roll.
Flowerday?
Yes.
Vest?
Yes.
Amundson?
Yes.
Schulte?
Yes.
Yoakum?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. Brings us to item 3, a special presentation, the Commissioner's Award of Excellence for August 2023 to Drew Bolzer, Sheriff's Office, in the category of loss prevention. And Commissioners, I'll go ahead and read Drew's letter.
Thank you.
Drew Bolzer, Deputy Sheriff Sergeant with Lancaster County Sheriff's Office, has been selected as the Commissioner's Award of Excellence winner for August 2023. Bolzer has worked for Lancaster County for 17 years. He was nominated by Captain John Vick in the category of loss prevention. In his nomination, Vick states, during July 2023, LSO Cruiser 955 sustained severe damage during a crash. The vehicle was declared a total loss, and the vehicle was slated to be disposed of. Prior to its disposition, LSO needed to retrieve the emergency lighting and other equipment, MDC docks, in-car camera, radar, prisoner cage, etc., from the vehicle so that it could be reused in an eventual replacement vehicle. The county shops would normally be tasked with a cruiser teardown, but they are currently down mechanics, and the work would have delayed other maintenance work or been delayed itself. Jones Automotive, our contract upfit vendor, would have also been an option had we not needed to tow the disabled vehicle to Omaha, where Jones has been also significantly backlogged with work. Seeing the situation and without being asked or directed, Sergeant Drew Bolzer and Technology Manager Chris Laird developed a plan to remove the vehicle equipment themselves. Between them, the two had backgrounds in automotive work and emergency vehicle technology. On 8/29/2023, they made arrangements to remove the salvageable emergency equipment, saving Lancaster County over $12,000 in parts and labor, on top of the time saved to make this equipment available for a replacement cruiser. In the background, Sergeant Bolzer also worked with a contact at a local vendor to identify a cruiser which has been ordered by another agency and since canceled, which made it available to LSO. The vehicle would be available in a matter of weeks versus the normal order cycle of many months to replace the vehicle. Steps to purchase the vehicle are currently underway. The problem-solving, initiative, and hard work to make this all happen embodies the values that we embrace at the Lancaster County Sheriff's Office. Sergeant Bolzer's efforts reflect great credit upon himself, the Lancaster County Sheriff's Office, and the taxpayers of Lancaster County. For these reasons, we are pleased to award Bolzer with the Commissioner's Award of Excellence for the month of August 2023.
This may not seem like a real big deal, but getting equipment, getting work done on units getting additional cars. So Drew has done a great job of saving taxpayer dollars by getting it done in a timely fashion, being able to salvage all of the equipment that we have in the patrol car and transfer it to another one. So Drew Bolzer.
Thank you very much.
Sergeant Boulder, it's my honor to get to present you with the Commissioner Award of Excellence and just offer my thanks for your prudence, good judgment, and looking out for Lancaster County taxpayers. Thank you.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you care to say any words?
I'm a pretty humble guy. I was just doing my job, so.
You see it as just doing your job, but we sit here and we hear about supply chain issues and how it's taken us a couple of years to get some vehicles, and the cost of everything is escalating. So what you did was really made a difference in the county, by coming in with a solution that we were able to get the sheriff's car back on the road in a much more reasonable time and save the money.
I'm just trying to get the guys that do the hard work out on the road, cars and equipment to do it with, so.
It takes everybody to make this work, for
Thank you.
sure.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. We can proceed with the agenda.
Next item on the agenda is the consent items. These are routine business items that are expected to be adopted without dissent. Any individual item may be removed for special discussion and consideration by a commissioner or by any member of the public without prior notice. Unless there is an exception, these items will be approved as one single vote of the Board of Commissioners. These items are the approval of A, amendment to County Contract C-22-0851 with United Parcel Service, UPS, to provide small package delivery service. B, right-of-way contracts with the following: Eldon D. and Danita A. Crotchville Trust Agreement, Northwest 98th Street and West Little Salt Road, in the amount of $1,220. Ball Vineyards and Estates, LLC, South 25th Street and Whitstruck Road, in the amount of $955. Mark and Christina Benz, Northwest 12th Street and West Bluff Road, in the amount of $1,967.50. Mark J. and Kimberly M. Blazik, Northwest 98th Street and West Rock Creek Road, in the total amount of $4,272.50. Frank Farms Incorporated, South 176th Street and A Street, in the amount of $730. Timothy D. and Christina D. Miller, North 98th Street, Holder Street to Adam Street, in the total amount of $20,900. John H. and Deanna J. Swanson, Northwest 98th Street and West Little Salt Road, in the amount of $2,510. C, grant contracts with the City of Lincoln, Lincoln Police Department for the Take Pause program for the following amounts: $12,000 and $7,016. And then D, receive and place on file the following reports for October 2023: Clerk of the District Court, Assessor, Register of Deeds, and County Clerk.
Move approval of the consent items?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the consent items. Please call the roll.
Schulte,
Yes.
Flowerday,
Yes.
Best,
Yes.
Amundson,
Yes.
Yocum.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. Brings us to item 5, new business. 5A, a resolution in the matter authorizing the county clerk to issue payments while the county board is adjourned.
Move approval?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve this resolution. Please call the roll.
Amundson,
Yes.
Schulte,
Yes.
Flowerday,
Yes.
Best,
Yes.
Yocum.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. Item 5B, resolution in the matter amending the county purchasing manual to include a conflict of interest statement.
Morning.
Morning.
Pete Kroll, Purchasing Agent, Lancaster County. Asking this morning to amend the county purchasing manual to include conflict of interest. This is directly related to procurement, with the conflict of interest language I'm asking to be added.
Move
Okay.
approval?
I actually have some questions
Okay.
first that I'd like to, I just want to make sure, so there's two different ways a conflict of interest policy can be, right? There's one that generally where it just says, I declare that I have a conflict of interest, and then there's another one that generally says, I cannot compete or participate because of a conflict of interest. What is this setting up? Is this setting up a, hey, we just declare that there's a potential conflict of interest, or is this saying that owners in a company cannot participate in a bidding process with the county?
Well, the purpose of the policy is to include it in the manual so that people who respond to requests for proposals and engage in the competitive bidding process understand what the policy is. So it doesn't necessarily change a policy, but it establishes so that it's included in the purchasing manual so that we can let folks who are participating in this process know what it is, so they know up front. I can't give a gift to this person unless it's unrelated to the event and I've paid for it with my own money and not the company's money, and things like that. So it's just a way to let other people in the community know what our policy is.
Which I understand the gift portion of it. I guess I'm more concerned about the ownership of a business portion, like, so.
What
if-
line are you worried about?
Yeah.
Policy, in addition, they shall not be financially interested in or have any personal benefit, either directly or indirectly, in any contract, purchase order, or other instrument for the purchase or real personal property or services used by or furnished to any office, official, department, agency, instrumentality of the county. That just makes it seem to me like what we're saying is that they shall not have any ownership, relationship, anything like that. And so that's what I'm trying to figure out if that what exactly.
Yeah, I don't know necessarily how to answer that question. It's just what it states. I mean.
So, I mean, I guess the question is like, if somebody in the assessor's office, their spouse is an owner in a concrete company, can that concrete company not bid for county business?
That would have to be just disclosed, and at that time, we would look at that. I mean, it's not hard and fast. I can't say for sure in that scenario what would happen.
So, and that's where the policy maybe just isn't very clear to me. So, because it says it prohibits, I mean, it says it shall not have any financial interest. That's very different to me than a financial interest has been declared to the county.
And I just want to ask, the policy is already in place. This is just inserting this into the manual?
No,
Setting the policy, is it?
This is setting the
Okay,
policy.
okay.
Mhm.
Go ahead.
But do we not have, I mean, we have conflict of interest.
Right.
In other places. This is just putting it in the purchasing manual.
Yes. Right.
Like, I actually thought Commissioner Yocum was right there. I thought we hadn't, I mean, we have language, I've seen language like this before.
Yeah. I don't know that it's in a resolution to add it to the purchasing manual.
Right, agreed.
The purchasing department has had guidance documents and a conflict of interest policy, but it has not been included in a resolution, which has been formally including it into the purchasing manual.
We have conflict of interest around the evaluators, mostly internal. I think this is an external facing, so that everyone external has that visibility. We're just trying to ensure the integrity of the process. And to answer your question, no, my intent would not be to naturally just exclude someone because they had a relationship with someone who had ownership or in some way was related to that company. We just want to be transparent about a conflict of interest. So if there's confusion in how that's written, we can.
Which
Yeah,
first of all, I want to be clear. Like, I'm okay with the idea of declaring conflict of interest. What I'm not okay with is saying that certain companies can't participate because their spouse, and it looks to me like that's what they're reading. That's the way at least I read that terminology is. I guess my second concern is that elected officials already have this with the NADC, and so I don't know that we need to include that in here, but my primary concern is, hey, we need a garage door installed. Happens to be that somebody who works in the treasurer's office, her husband owns a garage door. I want to make sure that we are not excluding future bidders or even current bidders, because it would seem to me, at least by this wording, that we would need to go back through and figure out what of our current contracts could potentially be problematic under this.
And the intent is in no way to limit competition, because purchasing
Right.
thrives on competition. That's who we are.
Right.
So,
And you're right, I mean, typically, if we had a situation where a contract would benefit a spouse or a family member or yourself, you would just recuse yourself from
Right.
voting on the contract. So we don't want to prevent that kind of thing either. And so if we need to look further at the language in this, I'd be happy to do that and work through that
Sure.
with you.
Which I totally affirm your intent. Like, I just want to make sure that your intent, when you leave, at some point in your career, you may leave, your intent goes with you. So we want to make sure that the wording matches that. So I guess I would propose that I would like for us at least to just revisit some of the language on this and make sure we're clear before we move forward on this. So I guess with that, I mean, I know I've asked a bunch of questions, I'll let some of the commissioners.
Yeah, are there any other questions? We do have a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
Yeah, we did.
Or
Yeah, I seconded it.
you seconded it? Okay.
So I'd like to make a motion to table this until such a time that the county attorney can review some of the wording.
Because really, the intent is to let other people know, the people who
Right.
are responding, know what the policy is about financial interests and gifts, et cetera. And we, if that needs to be made more clear about how those kinds of contracts can happen, which is, people wouldn't be involved in the decision-making process of awarding those bids and those contracts if someone is financially involved, we can certainly look at that and do that.
I don't want to table it indefinitely, but can
No.
we table it for a week?
Right.
Sure,
that's-
that's fine, we can,
That's
I will
really
make a
just
motion.
delaying, not to table.
I'm
Table
just real quick
means-
thinking, all right, I mean, could we say 2 weeks? Or is there something coming up? I just want to make sure
I
that
don't-
the
I'm
attorneys
not
have
aware
got
of
the
anything
time
coming
to.
up. I'm just.
Yeah, I don't think it's time sensitive. I just think it's important that we get to
I
completion.
think the board should have a vote, since there was the motion and the second to approve. The board should vote now on that motion with the consideration that Commissioner Schulte wants to table it for some time. And then if Commissioner Schulte would like, you could make a subsequent motion, or we could just proceed with new business.
We can't, I mean.
I think, yeah, I think if I make a motion, someone seconds to table, that then tables the whole thing, we don't vote on
I
the
don't
policy
believe that
itself.
the motion to table yields to the motion to approve, and we have a motion to approve in a second, and there's certain motions that take priority over others. I don't believe a motion to table is one that defeats the motion to
Yeah,
approve.
it's not, you're right that it's not a priority motion. But we can just withdraw the original motion, can't we?
If the moving
I would
person
be
wants to
willing-
withdraw it and the second withdraws their second,
I would be willing to withdraw the motion.
Yeah, with the understanding that we'll come back in a week, 2 weeks, I don't know.
Sure.
Is it, do you have a strong preference for 2 weeks?
No, I just was trying to think about with holidays and vacations and stuff like that. I just want to make sure they've got time to respond. We can say a week, I'm fine with that. So you guys are you withdrawn?
Both, motion has been withdrawn.
I'd like to make a motion to table this for a week so we can review the wording.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to table this for 1 week. Please call the roll.
Flowerday,
Yes.
Vest,
Yes.
Amundson,
Yes.
Schulte,
Yes.
Yocum.
Yes.
Table carries 5-0.
Thank you.
thank you.
Brings us to item 5C, appointment of Nicholas Oberly as Emergency Management Training Specialist at an annual salary of $66,023.36, step 4, effective November 16th, 2023.
Good morning, Jim David Saber, Director, Lincoln, Lancaster County Emergency Management. We had quite a bit of interest in this position. We had more than 40 applicants apply, and Nick established himself as a leading candidate. I think it was a combination of his formal education, his work experience, and his military service that really put him at the head of that list. He wanted to be here this morning to introduce himself. He is in the exit strategy process with his current employer, ensuring that they can continue their operations when he comes to emergency management late next week. So I will take the opportunity in the future to introduce him, but as I said, we are ready and ready to add the position, and definitely good things coming forward.
Very good. And this is the post that's we're paying like 25% of the salary, right?
Correct,
Yeah.
through the Emergency Management Performance Grant.
Very good.
Move approval.
Yeah.
Second.
Second. And going back to Sean's point, that this was really a good work on your part, Jim, to capture all that funding and will allow us to add this position at 1/4 the cost of what the employee is going to be earning. So appreciate that, and we're excited to have him join us.
Thank you.
Looking forward to meeting.
We have a motion and a second to approve. Please call the roll.
Schulte,
Yes.
Flowerday,
Yes.
Vest,
Yes.
Amundson,
Yes.
Yocum.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. Item 5D, an agreement with the Community Supports Network Incorporated to source and provide individuals to perform microfilm scanning services at the Records and Information Management Department as a part of rehabilitation, treatment, care, training, and education program. The county will pay up to $78,000 for the services.
Move approval.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second to approve. Please call the roll.
Amundson,
Yes.
Schulte,
Yes.
Flowerday,
Yes.
Vest,
Yes.
Yocum.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. 5E, a revised Medicare enrollment application for clinics and group practices for revalidation of the Lancaster County Mental Health Crisis Center's enrollment information. The revised application replaces the Medicare enrollment application under County Contract C-23-0820.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve. Please call the roll.
Vest,
Yes.
Amundson,
Yes.
Schulte,
Yes.
Flowerday,
Yes.
Yocum.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. 5F, a Medicare enrollment application for the reassignment of Medicare benefits of Lisa Logsdon, PsyD, for services at the Mental Health Crisis Center.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve. Please call the roll.
Flowerday,
Yes.
Vest,
Yes.
Amundson,
Yes.
Schulte,
Yes.
Yocum.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. 5G, an interlocal agreement with the Regional Behavioral Health Authority, Region 5 Systems, to provide funding to employ a coordinator to lead, facilitate, and implement processes, practices, and programs designed to reduce the number of incarcerated individuals with mental illnesses.
Good morning, Sarah Hoyle, Director of Lincoln Lancaster County Human Services. And this was in front of the board a couple weeks ago. This is just the formal approval for the contract. It's a partnership with Region 5 to take that work that has already been started with the Stepping Up initiative and continue it. The goal, as was stated, is to reduce the population of the jail, especially those individuals that are in our jail with mental health issues.
Very good.
I move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and we have commissioners clamoring for the second on that. Seeing no further discussion, please call the roll.
Schulte,
Yes.
Flowerday,
Yes.
Vest,
Yes.
Amundson,
Yes.
Yocum.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Glad to get to this point.
Item 5H, recommendation from the Youth Family Crisis Response Center, request for proposals, review committee, and the Region 5 Systems Behavioral Health Advisory Committee to approve an award from Region 5 to Centerpoint to develop and operate Square One, a youth and family crisis response center.
Okay. Good morning again. I'm here now with Renee Dozier, who is the Administrator of Children and Family Services for Region 5. And this has been a project that has been in the making for 2 decades.
Absolutely.
2 decades. But we are getting there. And the region, I'll let you, do you want to talk about the region's work with us?
Oh, absolutely. So, again, Renee Dozier with Region 5 Behavioral Health. And Sarah and I have been working together for a long time. Some of you, we've worked together as well to ensure that this came to fruition. We're pleased to say that the work that we've done over a long period of time, this is going to happen. So the purpose of the Youth and Family Crisis Response Center is to provide a place for young persons who are in behavioral health crisis to go to receive some supports and help. It doesn't stop there by those persons entering into services there, but it also includes some aftercare services to ensure that they have healthy connections within the community. So we're pleased that this work is in alignment with best practices from SAMHSA, that three-legged stool with crisis response, someone to respond, someone to call, and a place to go. Well, here in Lancaster County, we will have a place to go for those young individuals. So again, thank you guys for this consideration, and again, thank you for allowing me to speak today.
And this particular decision in front of us was a difficult position because, and it was a difficult selection to make because we had probably two of the most qualified agencies in the county that would have done, either one of them would have done amazing doing this. So we were fortunate in that we had the right people at the table bidding on this, except not fortunate for us because it made our decision even more difficult.
Absolutely.
So.
The process was a good process, however. I mean, it was a lot of reading. There were hundreds of pages to read through, but using the scoring system, I think when, in the end, even though we all felt it was a very difficult decision as we were reading, in the end, when we saw the scores, it was very clear, and there really wasn't a lot of discussion beyond that.
Absolutely.
We were glad to have those two providers to choose from.
And thank you, Commissioner Yoakum. I appreciate the time that you spent with us, helping to guide us through this process as well. So thank you for sitting on the review team.
It was a very good process. Thank you all for your work.
Move approval.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second to approve, and so glad to get to this point in this process.
Thank you.
Please call the roll.
Yes.
Schulte,
Yes.
Flowerday,
Yes.
Best,
Yes.
Yocum.
Yes,
Motion carries 5-0.
this is good for the community.
Brings us to item 5I, a recommendation from the purchasing agent on behalf of County Sheriff to award and execute a sole source purchase order to Vigilant Solutions LLC for fixed license plate readers in the amount of $85,136.
Yes, Spike, you may.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Spike Eichelt. Do I sign in here?
We do want you to say
Okay,
it,
Spike
please.
Eichelt. I'm with the ACLU of Nebraska. We are opposed to this item. This is not the first time that I've been before this board on the issue of the license plate readers, or even the ACLU for that matter. You may recall a couple of years ago, the Sheriff's Office approached and was granted authority from this county board to provide for a test period, if you will, or a trial period, where the cameras and the service was provided either for free by Vigilant or next to for free. We were opposed to that trial period because, as one of the points that we raised at the time, is what happens with these sort of trial periods is that it's going to come with a cost, and this is part of the cost. The Sheriff's Office is asking for $85,000 to expand the current surveillance system that they have with the license plate readers. Just a couple of weeks ago, you granted the Sheriff's authority to put affix a camera on Interstate 80 to capture license plate information. One reason, and there are several reasons why we are opposed to this type of surveillance system, is the way that the license plate cameras work. The license plate cameras record all license plates. Everyone's license plate information is collected by these cameras, up to 100 a minute, and uploaded and saved and stored by the license plate reader company provider, in this case, Vigilant. They keep all that information. The contract that was approved by the board, I'm showing it on the board, provides explicitly, and I don't know how to do that, but you can see that.
I think what you did is just fine.
Okay.
It will appear in a minute.
The contract, which we oppose, explicitly provides that Vigilant retains all title and rights to commercial license plate reader data and all commercial booking images. Those terms are defined as the license plate information. The company owns that material. At the request of the sheriff, either before or after, they can retrieve information regarding certain license plate numbers. That's what the contract provides for. State law limits what the counties and the law enforcement agencies can do with how long they can keep it. They can keep it for 6 months, but the state law that was passed by the legislature does not and cannot limit the providers. That likely interferes with interstate commerce. So what do you have? You are enabling a data harvesting scheme by this provider, coupling with law enforcement. That matters, and I don't know exactly what these companies are doing with it, but there is some value in it. Just last year, our Attorney General announced, along with a few other states, a settlement with Google on-location tracking data, almost a year to the day. And I think Nebraska's got almost a $12 million settlement with Google. And I think I sent this to the county board before to show what's going on. In this case, Google provided app services to certain users. And you know, if the app would say things like track while using, track while use, or whatever, the customer would designate not to be tracked at all, but Google was still tracking it. Why? Because there's some value, whether it's just maybe marketing value, there's some utility, if you will, for these companies to track people's movements. And in our opinion, that's exactly what's going on with this license plate reader system. You're being asked to invest in it further. You're being asked to fund it further. The cost is $85,000 for the devices. Presumably, there's going to be a cost for storage and access. There's going to be, I'm speculating, but admittedly, there probably will be another request to invest even more into the data. And what you have, in our opinion, is an erosion of individual and personal privacy for those people who are innocent. You don't have, you know, if I don't want to use an app, I don't have to get it on my phone. I have to travel on the interstate. I'm going to Omaha today. That camera is going to take a picture of me going there and back and upload it somewhere. I can't do anything about it. Similarly, with these 6 cameras going to be at fixed locations, I don't see in the purchase agreement where they're going to be, how they're going to be used, why they're being used. So we would oppose this and urge the board not to adopt it. And I don't really know the protocol, admittedly. The sheriff has a budget that's approved by that is approved by the county board either annually or biannually. This is in addition to that. And perhaps one suggestion would be is that the board not do that and be included within the regular budget of the sheriff itself. If this is a necessary law enforcement purposes, they should have to budget it like any other item. So we'd urge the board not to adopt it.
Thank you. We did have a pretty robust conversation when we were briefed earlier and previously, but we have Sheriff Wagner here to address this as well.
Good morning, Terry Wagner, Lancaster County Sheriff. As you said, we have tried to explain exactly what these cameras do, and what, more importantly, what they don't do. This is merely the authority to purchase those cameras. The funding to be used is forfeited assets. It's not part of our budget and not part of taxpayer dollars. So that's what's going to be used to purchase and install these cameras at fixed locations with the agreement with the Department of Roads that we approved. You approved 3 weeks ago, or whatever.
And these are the cameras that we approved just a few weeks ago.
Right.
Correct,
This is
yes.
the actual purchase, the same.
Right, this is
same
just,
issue.
purchasing
Right,
what you, okay.
That's what I thought. I was just clarifying. And every time this issue has come up, I've always asked the same thing, and I've been told again and again by the county attorney's office, for multiple members of the county attorney's office, and other attorneys in the county too, that they can't that Vigilant can't sell the data that's being collected. I understand the ACLU disagrees with that, but I keep asking the same question.
That's my understanding as well.
That's what I think. So.
And just the data is just the plate number. It's not who owns that plate.
Right.
It's just the plate number. So from our advantage, if a vehicle is wanted for a crime or stolen, it's the plate that's entered, and that plate then triggers the alert to us that that vehicle has traveled between here and Omaha or whatever.
Commissioner Flowerday, I'll affirm again that, yes, they're prohibited from selling that data. I believe Mr. Eichholt briefly mentioned them holding the data beyond the statutory required period in the Automatic License Plate Reader Act, but that would not apply to them. It would apply to the government entity, and we have safeguards in the agreement to make sure that we're fully compliant with that act.
I'd move approval of I.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second to approve this recommendation from the purchasing agent. Yes.
I want to make a comment, and I'm trying to put it together so it sounds at least partially coherent. You know, we've had this discussion, and there are pros and cons. I mean, there are certainly reasons that I think everybody up here wants to protect the individual privacy of all our citizens to the degree that's possible. However, the Sheriff's Department has come before us and presented the use of these tools, which will be on I-80. That is accurate information that will capture license plates. I'm on I-80 regularly to go visit grandchildren in both directions, so I'll get capture on either end of the county. I'm trying to understand how it's detrimental to me that my license plate gets red when I'm driving up and down the interstate. I don't see the harm here. So I'm gonna continue, as I have before, my support of putting this project, these cameras on, because we have seen benefits in that people who were wanted for serious crimes have been brought to justice through the use of equipment like this. So I just want to clarify, we've had this discussion numerous times, protecting privacy, vitally important, and we appreciate the work of the ACLU in pointing it out to us. I don't think this particular action crosses that line. That's what I meant. So.
So we have a motion and a second to approve. Please call the roll.
Vest,
Yes.
Amundson,
Yes.
Schulte,
Yes.
Flowerday,
Yes.
Yocum.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. Brings us to item 5J, a recommendation from the purchasing agent on behalf of county engineering to award a bid to Midwest Infrastructure Incorporated for replacement of County Bridge X129 in the amount of $1,562,346.88.
Morning, excuse me, morning, Larry Legg with Lancaster County Engineers Office. Yeah, we're pretty excited to get this let. The bid came in actually $100,000 less than our estimate. Still a lot of money, but it's a pretty good-sized bridge. It's been closed since 2019. A little bit of scour and the flooding affected it, and then the style of the bridge doesn't do well with the chemicals we use to keep the road ice-free. So there's some other structural issues going on with it. So it's in the tailwaters of Stagecoach Lake on Panama Road, just a little bit east of South 54th Street. The contractor is proposing to start it here in the end of February. We included a winter work spec in this particular contract that allows them to work without us assessing working days in the wintertime. And as this bridge is already closed, there's really no harm to that. They propose, at least if they stay on schedule and the year's good, to have it open by the end of June. So,
Great.
Move approval.
Second.
Get it done.
We have a motion and a second to approve. Please call the roll.
Flowerday,
Yes.
Vest,
Yes.
Amundson,
Yes.
Schulte,
Yes.
Yocum.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. Item 5K, recommendation from the Southeast Nebraska Development District to award a contract through the Lancaster County Owner-Occupied Rehabilitation Housing Program to Project 003 to Easy Construction in the amount of $3,800 to replace 5 windows.
All right. Good morning, Dennis Meyer, County Budget and Fiscal Director. I'm kind of subbing in for Ryan from Send today. He wasn't quite for sure if he was going to be able to make it or not, but we want to keep the projects moving. So these next 2 items both are dealing with our housing and rehab program. This one for windows, and the next one is to replace a water heater. So it's just our next 2 projects. Once you approve it, then they just kind of keep the projects moving.
Glad to see these coming before us.
Absolutely. This is state money that we're using to help low-income folks repair older homes, and this will result in energy savings for them and upgrade their life. So really excited. Appreciate Send.
What communities are these in?
I knew you were going to ask me that, and I actually have no idea.
Okay.
I think if you drill down into it, I think it will show you
probably
on
does,
those
yeah.
documents.
Okay.
I move approval.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second to approve. Please call the roll.
Schulte,
Yes.
Flowerday,
Yes.
Vest,
Yes.
Amundson,
Yes.
Yocum.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. Item 5L, a recommendation from the Southeast Nebraska Development District to award a contract through the Lancaster County Owner-Occupied Rehabilitation Housing Program to Project 004 to T&A Plumbing in the amount of $1,554 to remove and replace a water heater.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve this one. Please call the roll.
Amundson,
Yes.
Schulte,
Yes.
Flowerday,
Yes.
Vest,
Yes.
Yocum.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. Next item,
And I did drill down. It's in Walton and.
The other one's in Lincoln, Southwest
Lincoln, yeah, okay. Mhm.
27th, I think it was.
Yeah. Okay, very good.
Lincoln address at least.
Thank you. We may proceed then.
next item is item 6, public comment. Those wishing to speak on items related to county business not on the agenda may do so at this time.
Is there anyone present wishing to speak on any items that are not on today's agenda? Please come forward. We'll ask you to sign in and state your name for the record, and you'll have 5 minutes. There's a little monitor that you can see there.
My name is Sandy Smith. I live at 18303 North 162nd Street. But I'm here to speak to you about an intersection at the corner of 134th and Adams. So if you're familiar with that area, the north-south road is 134th, stop signs on each side. Adams is the paved road that you paved a couple years ago with a speed limit of 55 supposedly. October 26th, there was a tragic accident on that corner. It was my grandson. I'm here to speak to you and ask each and every one of you to drive that road going on Adams East. When you top the hill, you can see the quarter of the intersection. I timed it. It takes you 4.2 seconds to get to the intersection. If you consider stopping distance in there and the time of reaction to get to the brake, you don't have enough time to stop. I don't know what could be done, but at least some kind of warning that there's an intersection ahead would be helpful. I know that I need to contact Pam Dingman, and I just wanted to bring it forward to you and so that maybe something can be looked at.
Yeah, thank you for bringing this forward. Have there been other accidents there?
Not to my knowledge, no. I
You may or may not know about
was
them.
not
though.
knowing that, no, not till now, yeah. Okay, thank you.
We are extremely sorry for your
Thanks,
family's
Rick.
Thank you for bringing this to our attention. Is there anyone else wishing to speak during public comment? Seeing none, we can proceed with the announcements.
The Lancaster County Board of Commissioners will hold a staff meeting on Thursday, November 9th, 2023 at 8:30 a.m. in room 112 of the County City Building. Lancaster County Board of Commissioners will hold its regular meeting on Tuesday, November 14th, 2023 at 9 a.m. in room 112 of the County City Building. The County Commissioners can be reached at 402-441-7447 or commish@lancaster.ne.gov. The Lancaster County Board of Commissioners meeting is broadcast live on LNK-TV. LNK-TV is available on Allo Channel 2 and Spectrum Channel 1300. For the rebroadcast schedule, visit lincoln.ne.gov. Meetings are also streamed live on YouTube and Facebook. LNK-TV apps are available on Roku, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire TV. And the last item I have is adjournment.
We adjourn.
Do we have a second?
Yes, second.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn. Please call the roll.
Vest,
Yes.
Amundson,
Yes.
Schulte,
Yes.
Flowerday,
Yes.
Yocum.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
We will now begin the Lancaster County Board of Equalization meeting for Tuesday, November 2nd, 2023.
Location announcement of the Nebraska Open Meetings Act. Copy of the Nebraska Open Meetings Act is located at the wall of the rear of the hearing room. Additionally, all written materials to be discussed at today's open meeting is available for electronic viewing from the county clerk's staff. Printing options are available upon request. These materials can also be viewed at the county's website at lancaster.ne.gov. Brings us to item 1, minutes. Approval of the minutes of the Board of Equalization meeting held on Tuesday, October 17th, 2023.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes. Please call the roll.
Vest,
Yes.
Amundson,
Yes.
Schulte,
Yes.
Flowerday,
Yes.
Yocum.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. Item 2 is the additions and deductions to the tax assessment rolls.
Move approval of the additions and deductions to the tax assessment rolls.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the additions and deductions to the tax assessment rolls. Please call the roll.
Flowerday,
Yes.
Vest,
Yes.
Amundson,
Yes.
Schulte,
Yes.
Yocum.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. Item 3 is a notice of taxable status for the state of Nebraska.
Good morning.
Corey Beatty, County Assessor, Register of Deeds Office. These 5 parcels were recently acquired by the state. They're currently being farmed, so it's our recommendation at this time that until the land is being used for a public purpose, that it remains taxable and on the tax roll.
That is in keeping with other times that we've done that.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve. Please call the roll.
Schulte,
Yep.
Flowerday,
Yes.
Vest,
Yes.
Amundson,
Yes.
Yocum.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. Number 4, appeal and penalty and interest on personal property form for Commute Air LLC for 2022 and 2023.
I don't know if there's anybody here wanting to address the appeal,
Doesn't appear so.
but Commute Air LLC filed their 2022 and 2023 personal property filings in on September 19th of this year. So there's a statutory penalty required to be assessed to that, and so we're just following the statute.
So the recommendation is to deny the appeal then?
Deny the appeal because the authority is not there, unfortunately, based on the timeliness of the filing.
I would move we deny the appeal.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to deny this appeal. Please call the roll.
Amundson,
Yes.
Schulte,
Yes.
Flowerday,
Yes.
Vest,
Yes.
Yocum.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. Item 5, we have appeals on disqualification for special greenbelt valuation. The first is Myron and Barbara Smith, and the second is Greg and Casey Goodwater.
Good morning.
My name is Myron Smith. This is an undivided portion of my farm that happens to fall in another section because of the routing of the railroad track. And it's, I think it says about 3 acres. And so I'm appealing to have it all considered to be ag land, as it has been forever. And I have a map of it if you wish to look at it.
Mm-hmm. Lay that, yeah, on the screen there. Thank
Where
you.
does it go?
This land is currently being used for commercial agriculture. You're farming it right now.
It's pasture.
Great.
And it's a little triangle that's, you can see where A Street ends. As my finger shows up, yeah. And then there's an underpass for railroad underpass on 112th Street. And so it's this little triangle right here, which is not exactly what you'd be conducive for acreage property. It's only used for pasture or ag land. And so I'm appealing for it to not be reclassified as an acreage property.
Is the adjacent land classified as greenbelt?
This,
Yeah.
it's farm, it's ag.
Does the assessor's office have any recommendations or comments on this one?
I haven't heard anything from them.
Yeah, we're asking him to come
somebody else,
forward.
okay.
He was looking right past you, but.
Past you, I'm asking staff what's going on here. Yeah.
Good morning, Madam Chair. Good morning, Commissioners. Brian Grimm, Lancaster County Assessor, Register of Deeds. The reason that this was denied Greenbelt, we're not going to deny that he's farming it. It is.
Right.
Earlier this year, legislation LB 727 was passed that stated any parcel less than 5 acres was to not receive special valuation any longer. It's the law. Even if it abuts to or adjoins a 20-acre parcel, 120-acre parcel, that's the law. We were also notified by the Property Assessment Division at the state that is the law that we are to follow. That's the reason it was denied. We've contacted proactively about 200 property owners to see if some of these parcels could be combined.
Right.
Thereby, they would maintain their agricultural status. Unfortunately, some parcels cannot be combined due to crossing sections, being in two different tax districts or different ownership. They can't always be combined, even though they're utilizing it for the purpose they're intended for. The law states they do not receive special valuation.
So this looks like it's contiguous, and it doesn't, so what is the case on this specific property? Why
They
can't it
struck
be
the word
combined?
contiguous from the law. From our state statute, it's been struck this year when the bill was signed into law.
So for the examples that you gave as to why parcels can't be combined, why can't this one be combined?
That particular parcel, if I remember correctly, is in a different section.
Different
You can't
section.
combine in cross sections.
Cross over there.
see this.
And even if we wanted to combine that, which we do, it can't be done.
Because
Yeah,
of the
it makes
section line.
perfect sense that it would be, I mean, in my mind, other than the statute.
And so, do you lose green belt on everything if this piece isn't part of it? Are you underneath, or is it just this piece that loses?
Just that piece of just that parcel. And quite honestly, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but it is the law that
Yep.
says this piece, you're farming it, you deserve green belt, you walk over 10 feet, and that one doesn't, even though it's the same use.
Yep. And I wasn't in those negotiations, but I was close to them, and I remember when the legislature did this.
Well, it seems our hands are tied. I mean, I'm very frustrated because I agree with you, and the map looks like it should all be included.
There's nothing really.
There's no way we have of any of combining these parcels, right?
No. No, the only thing at this point where it could be reestablished is a change in legislation.
Well, Mr. Smith, I mean, thank you for bringing this to our attention. And it's a story that we see repeated regularly. The folks at the legislature pass laws, and we don't have the ability to override that, even when we want, even when it makes total sense that this property is just the same as all the rest of your property. The problem is that we are under obligation to obey the laws passed by the legislature. So, which means we're going to end up denying it, even though not one of us will feel good about doing that. And we have legislative priorities that we try to, when these things come, we're made aware of them, we try to make adjustments and help the senators understand the ramifications of what they're doing, because this 3 acres belongs with the whole rest of your property.
Yeah.
That's the only good news we can give you, is that we will do our best to draw attention to that and see if they're willing to
For
make
legislation to be changed.
that'd be the best outcome, because I don't know what problem they were fixing. Sometimes it's not clear what, you assume they're trying to fix a problem. It's not clear to us what that.
They create another one.
Yeah, we're, in our mind, worse.
Probably an unintended
Because
consequence,
people
but
like
yes.
you get caught with the changes, and so.
What,
Unless John's gonna pop up and say we have room to move against this law, we're stuck.
I don't think that's what he's coming to tell us.
Yeah,
Yes,
he
Mr.
hasn't.
Vest, unfortunately, I'm not gonna say that, but, and we may have to wait for a change in legislation. I did look for the property owner's parcel just during the discussion, and I am not familiar enough with where the map is and where the section line ends, and it's probably a wash, but just one alternative I would perhaps suggest would be subdivision, where you could move the property lines of the 3 acres, you might need a variance because the resulting lot that was outside of the section line might not meet minimum size requirements for agriculture land. But it's just a suggestion if the law doesn't change.
That's what I was wondering too, is can zoning games be played here too?
They perhaps could, yes, and a variance or a waiver might be granted under those circumstances where the owner wouldn't otherwise be getting the greenbelt reduced tax status due to it. So it's something to consider for perhaps in this case, perhaps not. I didn't find the exact parcel, but.
Where's this located, Mr.
112th and West A.
And do you know, is this the section line road right here?
This is A Street right here.
Okay,
Would have
okay.
gone through.
And I assume that's a section line road. So it's
Yeah.
really, if you subdivided off the rest of this and created a weird triangular parcel, that would be outside and not subject to greenbelt, but you would gain whatever else is there.
Well, the rest of the property is in Greenbelt.
But it's 3, right, the rest is, but this
This little three-cornered piece here, which has got part of the railroad grade on it, because this is an underpass underneath here.
yeah, and we can, certainly discuss further, and planning can have a discussion with you as well about that. So something to consider.
It's 112th and West.
112th and West A.
West A. Ignore me. I was looking at 112th and A. Yes.
This is clearly an example of the implications of a law that is wrong, right? So this isn't what this was intended to target.
Another map if the one we can look at it.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, I pulled mine up on Google Maps last night, and it was not real clear. And this is my farm, and then that's the part that's in question. There is no road through there.
Your
Yeah, no,
farm, and
it's-
there's your other farm, or the
It's
same
very
farm.
clear that would be of no other use.
All right. Thank you for coming, sir. We have another one.
Is there anyone here wishing to speak on the Greg and Casey Goodwater issue?
And Greg Goodwater, I'm in a very, very similar situation. As you can see, the red outline mark is my parent property, and the property to the north, this is oriented, top is north, is the child property that I own. They're in 2 different tax districts. I've been battling this over the last 20 years of me living there with every time the Greenbelt issue comes up. I completely understand the different tax groups, but in this situation, you can see across the road on the east side, that is the 2 different tax groups there. This line for tax group doesn't even extend all the way across the section. I understand the issues with that. I ask that the county consider, if it's going to be treated that way, treat it as it that way for the assessed value, and lower the assessed value to what a reasonable person would actually pay for a piece of land like that as a standalone. So since the state law is as it is, treat us as a sole occupant. That's 3.67, 3.8 acres. Horizontal, 100 yards wide, the length of the property. It's basically used for pasture on the backside, and the front side along as my tree line, so it's wasteland. I wouldn't pay probably more than $2,000 for it. So I would ask that you treat it as such.
Because when you get assessed, it's just assessed all as one parcel.
No, it's
a separate assessment.
The first time this went up for a Greenbelt back in 2012 or whatever it was, that piece of property was assessed at $120,000. I protested it. Now it's assessed at about $8,000.
Okay.
There's 2 people in this state that would buy that land, me and the neighbor to the north of me.
Right.
Supply and demand.
Right.
I got the supply and there is no demand, so therefore the lower the cost. So treat it as an individual piece of property, and I'd say the same for the prior gentleman.
And so it's currently being taxed as,
At 3.8 acres or whatever it is, at about $8,000. So I would ask that the assessor's office lower the tax value to the true value, which would be about 2.
You heard all the
Yes,
discussion.
you don't need to explain it. I understand your empathy, and I completely agree across the board. That's why I changed my tactic and say, this is what you can do, is change the assessed value.
That authority. change the assessor's
Yeah, I don't-
determination.
That's all I have.
We never do.
I was
Right.
gonna say, I've never,
Special circumstances?
I would have to research that, Commissioner. I don't have an answer for you right here.
I think we need solid
Yeah.
ground to stand
Yes,
on before we
yes,
take
you,
it.
certainly, yes.
Right, right.
So I can search for that and get an answer to the board this week.
Yeah.
For the extra
Oh,
work.
no problem, no problem.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Seeing no one else to speak, we can move to the next item.
We haven't done any.
We have to take action?
Well, I've already said everything
So-
I have to say on it. I just, it doesn't get any easier the more we do it.
No, exactly. And so really by statute, we would need to deny these appeals. My only question is, we just directed the county attorney's office to do a little more research. Can we bring it back later if that's?
I don't
It would
think,
still be denying this appeal. That would be a
I think
separate
this
action.
appeal gets denied.
I know the clerk's office might be, and I might be wrong, but they might be familiar with the timeline on when these need to be processed, 30 days. And do you know when the applicants filed the protests?
On the 16th and 17th.
So we'd have an,
16th and
okay, so we would have, and the BOE meets every other week, so we'd be past the, would we? I think we would
Yeah.
be, okay. Okay.
Even if we have some authority to play with the assessment, it doesn't affect this appeal.
Right.
The appeal is still
That
denied.
would be a
either
separate
way.
Right,
action.
That's a
right.
sep-
That's
you
what
could-
I was
yeah.
asking.
That's a totally separate
Presumably,
action, so it doesn't.
unless there's some area of the law that says that once this is a final determination, which I assume that wouldn't come up. So I would, at this point, recommend that you do deny the appeal, and we can, if that doesn't preclude us from changing the board from changing the assessed value later, that could happen.
Well, we have to act on this now.
Right.
And we don't have,
Yes.
we don't have the ability to do any sort of changes. That has to be done in the future, requiring more research and so forth.
Yeah,
Yes.
so that is a completely separate action.
And
Yeah.
we've set the assessed values for this year. I'm not saying they can't be changed later, but we're well past that point.
Right.
So
I move that we deny the appeal on item 5.
both appeals? There are two.
Yes, both.
Second.
Before we vote, I'm gonna vote no, and here's why. The legislature clearly didn't intend for this to happen. At
I
least
disagree with that.
I
don't think I don't think that's clear. And I'm not happy about it. I don't agree with that decision, but I don't think that's clear.
And it is the statute.
They wrote the law.
They
so
wrote
that
the
it
law
didn't
to
happen.
address other issues, not to address adjacent farmland like this.
I
And
would go have that conversation with the senators on the revenue
That's,
committee.
yeah, that's, unfortunately, it's not something we can
Okay,
fix here from
can
this
I just
dais.
finish? All three of you are interrupting me. Just give me a second to make my statement. You guys have all made yours. I didn't interrupt you.
Commissioner Schulte, you
Yes,
do
give
interrupt
me a little
all the
talking to.
time. Well, you do interrupt me all the time.
I do not. Just let me talk.
Go ahead with your
Commissioner.
statement.
I am voting no on this because this is not a problem that the legislature was trying to fix. They created a problem, and in that infinite wisdom, they set us as the people that this gets appealed to. And so they are putting in us the chance to make a decision. So I am voting no on this because I think that that's part of our power, our ability.
To override, I'm all for it if we have the ability to override state statute. I just haven't ever heard that case made. Okay.
Please call the roll.
Vest,
Yes.
Amundson,
Yes.
Schulte,
No.
Flowerday,
Yes.
Yocum.
Yes.
Motion carries 4-1. Brings us to item 6, which is an assessment correction pursuant to statute 77-161302 from Reed Duval.
Good morning.
Good morning. Hi, I'm Reed Duval. I have the property at 2152 South 56th Street. And I guess why I'm here is basically a clerical error at the assessor's office, which determined the market value. I bought the property, rezoned it, had to reduce square footage, still getting charged for square footage that wasn't there. So I'm asking for, basically when I pay these property taxes at the assessed value, that get a refund or a credit for that overpayment. And it would be in the mistake has since been corrected, and the difference in property tax value is about $55,700. So whatever 2% of that is kind of what I'm looking for.
Why is, sorry, I'm looking at the assessor's staff right now. Why is this in front of us? If there was a clerical error, why wasn't it fixed in?
Yeah.
I don't know. I pulled permits. It was inspected back in July of last year is when I got the occupancy. It was never updated on the assessor site.
What'd they say at your hearing?
I didn't have a hearing.
You appealed, but you didn't request a
I
hearing.
did the appeal, sent the, for the appeal, but I'm assuming that whoever was the judge was going off of what the assessor had. I don't know what more I can supply than the approved blueprint plans that I sent with the appeal. There's no notes. The approval, the person who stamped it, above them, there was no questions, never went back to the assessor to ask, hey, is this right? I don't know what else I could supply to the assessor's office rather than the approved plans that were inspected.
Well, we have 3 representatives of the assessors, of the county assessors department here. Can they provide any any clarity?
Jeff Johnson came out and inspected it and fixed it going forward for next year. So if there wasn't an error, why was it fixed?
Right, no. Can we get some kind of information
Yeah,
from the assessor's office,
we need a
please?
little more information here.
Brian Grimm, the Lancaster County Assessor Register of Deeds. It was brought to our attention in October this year of the discrepancy in a square footage size. Once we get to a certain point, we can't work backwards. We have moved forward for tax year 2024 and revisited that, and then we have made an adjustment for the square footage on the property. But in tax year 2023, I think clearly as far as any sort of corrections, we go to the Board of Equalization and then the Tax Equalization Review Commission after that. I'm not certain if we had you filed for the Tax Equalization Review Commission?
No, because it's not a market value. They're going off of the square footage that was supplied to them. So it's a clerical error.
And I think, Dan, you could probably give a little bit better of a clarification on what constitutes a clerical error.
This is not a clerical error. Really, when we're talking about clerical errors, it's a transposition of numbers or something like that. This is a valuation issue at its heart. And the case law is pretty clear. This is the only relief is to appeal to the Tax Equalization and Review Commission. So at this point, the board has no authority to make any sort of adjustments to the value. The clerical error is to fix things where maybe the board found it was $200,000 property and it gets input as a $300,000 property, something like that.
I guess that's not what I'm asking for. Is I'm not asking for the market value to be changed for this year. I'm just asking for a refund for the excess taxes that were paid on it.
But to be fair, you haven't paid any taxes yet, correct?
But when I pay them, I'm asking for once they're paid for next year, a refund for the excess that was collected. I'm not asking to change the market value.
Well, but you are, in a sense, you are, because that's how property values are calculated, is based on the value. I mean, that's how you pay your taxes.
Right,
If we change it, you want to be assessed at a lower amount in a backdoor way.
Right.
So the answer is we can't do that. Only Turk can change it at this point. And regarding kind of the hearing, as Mr. Duval did choose to waive his hearing, I called Great Plains to confirm, was there anything that they missed? They looked at it and said, no, they weren't seeing anything here that they thought it should have been changed. But sometimes that's kind of the risk when someone chooses to waive their hearing, is that it may not get explained to them what the issue is. And so it wasn't that it got overlooked or something. We've had times where appraisals get missed or something. They had all the information. They weren't understanding what they were looking at.
So that should have been questioned.
So you waived your hearing and you haven't gone to Turk, right?
Right, because
that's what the
issue is. I thought that you guys had the ability to vote on refunds of over clerical errors.
I think the
Well, I
problem
think
is
it
that
was
it
made
doesn't
clear
fit the
that this-
definition.
I do know in Hope County they do. My dad was the clerk there for 25 years. So,
Well, I do think that it was made clear that this was not necessarily a clerical error, it was an evaluation error, right?
Correct, that's
Okay.
evaluation error.
And so actually, the only way that you really can do anything is to go to Turk,
Well, or have your hearing.
or, yeah.
well, I guess then I would ask, what should I have supplied that would have been more direct of, rather than the blueprint and the site plan that was approved when I did that? At some point, it's beyond me as a person to expect somebody else to take a look at it. It was inspected, it was approved, there's been a correction done since then, in October. I don't understand, now I'm the one stuck with basically $1,115 due to the fact that not even a phone call to the assessor side or any, if I put an addition on my house, I can guarantee you, if I put a $1,200 addition on it, next year it's gonna show on the assessor site that I'm gonna have to pay an extra amount on that. So when I reduce the square footage, the same thing should apply.
I think that phone call was the hearing that you waived, right? I mean, that's where those conversations
conversation
happen.
happened.
You know, and I'm not trying to be flippant about it, it's just, I think that's where that conversation usually lies.
Well, I guess when it's denied, I'm assuming that they have all the information in front of them and that the square footage is correct. I went back thinking, well, maybe I'm wrong. And then it took me a while and I was like, well, let me contact the assessor. And then within 3 days, it's reduced. So there's an error in there somewhere. You're collecting taxes that aren't due.
So the complaint here is that this property was assessed based on square footage that had been removed from the property?
Yes.
That's what we're.
It had to be closed off because I converted it to, from a residential house to a office space. So due to fire code and things like that, I had to, what was a 1.5-story house had to be walled off with just a fireman plug to get in there.
Okay.
And they're still counting that as square footage
And that.
in the market value.
And that occurred when?
Last, a year ago, July of 2022 was when the occupancy was approved.
Okay. And so it was assessed based on the previous condition. And
When they changed it over to commercial, they never took out that square footage. So they knew it was happening because there was a permit, but no square footage was reduced.
And you approached the assessor's office when?
I did the appeal first, was my first.
And that occurred when, sir?
I think I was one of the very first to appeal on the whole, what day was that? Let's see here. June 1st.
Of this year?
Right. Thursday, June 1st at 9:59 a.m. So I was one of the top probably 10 to put it on their schedule.
And that's when we were put on notice that there was a problem with the square footage. Right, correct, Brian? And we checked, and
And
we went and confirmed that in October.
In my notes, I wrote on here that they had the incorrect square footage, which they now say that they confirmed that it's not with Great Plains.
On our end, on the assessor's office, we confirmed it in October.
Mhm.
And that's moving forward for tax year 2024.
So from your perspective, then it's the people doing the hearings problems to sort out whether it's been reduced or not?
I really don't know if I could even comment on that. I think it's one of those things, if we would have known about it during preliminary hearings in January and February, that we have those, the three big counties have those for a reason. And that reason is to point out some of the discrepancies that could happen in property. If that would have been brought to our attention, we would have had it taken care of at that point. The next progression after that is a Board of Equalization. Then after that, it's the Tax Equalization Review Commission. There's, evidently a step or two along the process that should have happened but didn't, for whatever reason.
That's why I'm here.
Those deadlines now are all passed.
Well, I don't think that we have the authority to grant a reduction. I think that
I'm
this
not
is-
asking for a reduction. I'm asking for a credit or a refund of taxes that I will pay on the higher assessed value, and it'll just like a refund back for the difference.
How much is it?
The difference in the corrected evaluation was $55,700, which is not that, it's basically about $1,100 worth of overpaid taxes.
But that's a big valuation swing. I mean, $55,000 is not.
Right, and I'm the one, and after hearing the steps here, I'm even more inclined to think that it was from the planning, when I pull a permit, why isn't that information taken over to the assessor and corrected?
I understand his frustration. However, as your legal counsel, I'm telling you, you don't have the authority at this point.
That's right.
You are changing the value. At the heart of it, you are changing the value. And if we're gonna allow this, then anyone else in the future would be able to come in here, skip Turk completely, just write Turk off, and come back in here and re-protest their value to this board and say, well, really, you put 100 rooms on there, I only have 99, so it should be this for my hotel. I mean,
That's not true.
that's the heart of the issue here.
No, it's a clerical issue.
Well, the problem, and I'm just talking, and you and I kind of talking here. I'm an average citizen, I'm doing my part, I want to pay my taxes, the appropriate amount of taxes. I put it on my protest form that the square footage is, I'm being taxed at is wrong. The form goes in, and it takes, again, we're getting into the weeds here, but it takes till October for somebody to come say, oh yeah, we were evaluating the wrong square footage, but the deadline's passed, so you have to pay for square footage you don't have.
I guess I can't really speak to that. What I'll tell you is it's not, talking about these issues, you could probably boil 99% of my Turk cases down to issues like this. They have the wrong room count, they have the higher quality on it, I'm getting too much for rent, anything like that. You could boil them all down to essentially a clerical error. They said I was should be getting $8 a square foot, it's really $6 a square foot. So I understand that, but once this board makes its decision in terms of value, which you set in this case at $169,000, I think is what it was set at, this board kind of loses control then to alter that value. And I understand Mr. Duvall saying, well, no, you refund me the difference here. Well, I should have been taxed at. Well, inherently in that equation, you change the value to get to those different taxes. And so that's kind of where the issue is. You are inherently changing the value to do that.
The Board of Equalization is the ones that.
So you're saying that the board does not have the ability to refund excess taxes due to a clerical error? You're saying it's a market value error, and it's not a market value error.
We differ. This is not a clerical error.
It is.
If it is a clerical error, we would have the authority.
Appraisal error. I mean, the property was appraised.
Correct.
It was inspected and never changed. I don't know what else to tell you. It was inspected, it was approved, it was signed off, occupancy was given, but never updated. And I brought it to the attention, and here we are.
The Board of Equalization has a whole lot less authority than one might assume that they have.
I never thought these would be the most frustrating meetings, but they are, because ever since you brought it to my attention, and I was included in those emails, I've been looking into this, trying to find the solution, and it doesn't appear that we have the opportunity to do this, that our hands are tied, just as in the cases we heard earlier today.
So you guys consider it a market value problem?
What's that? I didn't hear the question.
So you're saying that it's a market, I'm incorrect in a clerical, it's a market value issue, is what you're saying?
Appraisal issue is what I'm hearing it described as. The appraisers appraised the property based on knowledge they thought was correct.
Based on the assessor's website.
And it was,
It's
it
not.
turns out it was not. That's what I'm understanding.
Yeah, so the
I'm not-
assessor never updated the site, so they're going off of information, which I brought to their attention was incorrect, and went back and said, is this right? Right? You went to Great Plains and said, is this correct? I don't know what else to give them than the plans that were approved and inspected to, I don't know, what else could I give them?
Again, I think the hearing would have been
The
the
hearing
place
would have
this
been the thing.
conversation would have happened, and then it probably would have been clearer.
What are the notes on the appeal, is what I'd like to know, or like what are the notes from Great Plains and from the referee? Because there is 0 notes. It's like, no, I did not provide enough documentation, or whatever the words are, to make a change.
I don't have the information from the referee, I don't have access to that.
That is public record, is that correct? The appeals?
That note would have been on.
Yeah, and it just
what
says
was sent
basically
to
you did not provide documentation to support your claim. I don't know what documentation you want. If the plans that were approved and inspected are not enough documentation, I have no other
I
documentation.
think the unfortunate part is any other documentation to us at this point doesn't change our power, doesn't change the ability that we have to do it. That's the problem.
I guess so it goes back to my question, yes or no, the board has the ability or not have the ability for clerical errors to refund taxes.
If it were a clerical error,
That's
a
what you're-
transposition of numbers, that sort of thing, that would have been, yes, we would have the ability to correct that.
So you're saying it's a market value error?
But it's an assessment issue, and we don't have the ability to correct that.
On our agenda, it says assessment correction pursuant to, and then labels a law. What law is this that is bringing it in front of us?
There's 77-16-1302, which basically allows for the assessor to make corrections to the assessments. However, the case law says that it's not a substitute for a valuation issue, and this is a valuation issue here. So it doesn't really fit in terms of the clerical error, the refund. One, it requires that the taxes be paid, which hasn't happened yet, so it's premature and it's right there. And again, reading the case law,
I said I'd
it
pay
says
those.
that valuation in general cannot be challenged through these other statutes. The sole remedy is to go to Turk.
And is he able to go to Turk still?
He did not. My understanding is I don't have all my appeals in yet, but from what I've been told is he did not appeal to Turk.
Could he still, though, appeal to Turk?
He could appeal this decision, but I imagine that Turk is going to say the same things I'm telling you is, sorry, the Board of Equalization didn't have the authority to hear it, and so therefore we don't have the ability to hear it.
So the decision we make today, if we make a decision, that can be appealed?
Yes.
Because the other date has already passed?
Correct.
Okay. Okay, well, then that would be your next step, I guess.
What's that?
Is if we make a decision here to deny, then you could appeal that decision to Turk.
Okay. I was under the assumption, I was told that my Turk days were passed, like over 30 days.
Your original Turk date is passed on your original assessment. That is passed. But now if we make a decision today, this decision could be appealed.
But I'm still not quite understanding the difference between, so you're saying it's again, an appraisal or market value, when it's not. So, but that's what you're agreeing to, and it's not, it's a clerical error. It's the assessment that you put square footage on there that I brought to your attention that is not there to be taxed on. And I don't know the process from when something gets inspected to, from when a permit's pulled, to the inspection, to the updating of this, what they're using to come up with these numbers. I don't know that process, but somewhere in there, that's the clerical error that I'm talking about.
I definitely
But what you're
understand the
describing seems
frustration.
logical, right? Like any other valuation does get adjusted that way, or not valuation.
If you made it bigger.
Yes. Yeah.
Smaller.
I definitely understand your frustration. I just, the unfortunate thing is our hands are tied.
But I don't think they are tied if it's a clerical error. But you're agreeing with him that it's a valuation error.
You know, Mr. Zig comes to us repeatedly with his understanding of what the law says we can and cannot do. We rely on him because he's the expert in studying. He has the education, the background, and he's the one who does the research on these matters.
So if you were the taxpayer, you feel that you should have to pay that extra $1,100 for this,
I think I've already made my points about that, but that's a different issue than what we're talking about.
Do we have a
here.
motion to approve or deny this appeal?
I move that we deny the request for the, I don't know,
For the assessment, correct?
for the assessment value.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to deny this assessment correction. Is there any further discussion? Please call the roll.
Flowerday,
Yes.
Vest,
Yes.
Amundson,
Yes.
Schulte,
Yes.
Yocum.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
I hate to do it, but yes.
All right, thank you.
That brings our next item, item 7, the public hearings for the motor vehicle tax exemption applications. We have a series. They are for Christian Record Services Incorporated, St. Paul United Methodist Church, Via Marie School, School Sister of Christ the King, Our Lady of Guadalupe Seminary, the American Legion, Department of Nebraska, the Nebraska Crop Improvement Association, and 2 from Hope Spoke.
Is there anyone present wishing to speak to any of these motor vehicle tax exemption applications? Seeing none, we will now close the public hearing.
Next item is item 8, action on the following, the motor vehicle tax exemption applications.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the motor vehicle tax exemption applications. Please call the roll.
Schulte,
Yes.
Flowerday,
Yes.
Vest,
Yes.
Amundson,
Yes.
Yocum.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. Item 9, public comment. Those wishing to speak on items relating to the County Board of Equalization business not on the agenda may do so at this time.
Is there anyone present to speak to an issue not on our agenda? Seeing none,
Move we adjourn.
Second.
we have a motion and a second to adjourn. Please call the roll.
Amundson,
Yes.
Schulte,
Yep.
Flowerday,
Yes.
Vest,
Yes.
Yocum.
Yes.
Motion carries. We're adjourned.